available for them as well. And with that, Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you
Yeah.
so that you can get us started with learning about the comment and quiz features. And then if folks are using the product and have just general questions, they may pop those in there as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we're a small group, so y'all just unmute. You know what I mean? Because I might not necessarily hover over the chat a lot of the time because I'll just kind of show you how so luckily I actually just redid our in like level 1 certification for everyone who uses ScreenPal. And I've used our quiz feature to make all of those like certification videos. So I have some pretty extensive experience in the last month, really honing in and figuring out kind of my personal best practices for using the quiz feature, if you will. So I'll share some of those with you. And if you have a question, like I said, just unmute. I'm also in North Carolina. I know you probably remember from the last time that I was with you guys, but I'm just in the Sandhills region. So just down the mountain a ways. But let me go on and share my screen. So you guys are already using kind of you're using ScreenPal to record your lessons, right? But maybe not using quizzing as much yet. Have you dabbled in quizzing a tiny bit? Not at all. Okay, cool. No worries. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to like be redundant and tell you things that you absolutely already knew. So the key thing that you need to remember is that, and look, we have a conference in Vegas in 2 weeks. So I'm like using ScreenPal to take screenshots and edit my images. Look at that. We actually use it as well. But what you do is when you finish creating your video, so whatever your video lesson is, the key is to make it into a quiz. You do have to change it to ScreenPal hosted. So for example, if I wanted to, so like I just recorded this one last week, right? So when I go in, after I'm done with my editing, I do have to upload it to ScreenPal. So obviously when you're making your instructional videos, like you can, a lot of people like to download it as an MP4 so then they can put it in a learning management system or they embed it in the website or things like that. But the key is going to be that you do have to upload to ScreenPal hosting to use quizzing. That is really the only feature where you are required to upload it to ScreenPal hosting that we offer. Like if you just want your students to watch this instructional video on how to use images and animation, you don't have to worry about necessarily uploading that to ScreenPal. You could download the MP4, you could share the link, upload to Google Drive. But when you want to make it into a quiz, you do have to upload it. Of course, you have these options here. So you can add a description, add it to a channel. The quizzes don't live in channels, so you don't necessarily need to do any of those things. The only thing that I always want to make sure of, I just look to check, is that my closed captions is checked there. It should automatically be checked if you created closed captions for the video, but I've just had too many, like, something didn't save experiences in my life, that I just like to check that anyway. And then the visibility, I always leave mine as unlisted, which I think I told you guys last time. You could obviously set it as password protected, whatever, but this is not going to automatically make your quiz. This is just uploading to screenpal.com. So I'll click continue in background. It's going to take a minute for my video to show up on screenpal.com. But where it is sending it from this video editor is to literally screenpal.com, the hosting site. And then I'm going to click on my content. So the first step to making my quiz was to upload to ScreenPal. Okay. When I click on my content, then you'll see the quizzes tab. Y'all, I'm not going to lie, when I started working for ScreenPal, I was like, oh, they have quizzing. This is so cool, because I worked for Edpuzzle before I worked for ScreenPal, which is like yet another video formative assessment tool, ironically. But I was like, oh, they have quizzing. And I can't tell you, I looked in that video editor for like an hour for the word quizzes. And it's not in the video editor, it's on the hosting site. So learn from my mistake. Do not search in the editor for the word quizzes. Make sure that you upload to ScreenPal. I'm not kidding. And then I like talked to my boss and I was like, I don't think I have access to the quiz features. And he was like, have you gone to ScreenPal hosting? And I was like, no. So learn from me. Don't have my embarrassing moment. Once it's uploaded, so it might have uploaded as I told my story. Let's refresh. So this is the video that I just uploaded to ScreenPal. You might wait a couple minutes depending on the size of the file, obviously. This one's only like 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So there's a couple of ways that I can start making my quiz. I can click on the 3 dots and click Create Quiz. Okay. I can also just click on the word quizzes. And then I have the option to, my zoom's in the way, click New Quiz here, and then I can search for my video tile. So that one started with MCP. So I can just click there and then do Create Quiz. So typically I will click on the 3 dots and then select Create Quiz because I've normally just uploaded it right before I create the quiz. But you can go to quizzes if you have a lot of videos uploaded and search there. So you can see it's playing my quiz on silent, right? Like it's got the sound turned off, so I can turn on the sound here. After you've completed, I'll leave it off. But I can turn on and off the sound there. And then as I listen to my video play, I've got a little plus sign here. So I can click that and quickly add a question. I could also pause and then say add a question. And it's going to, we'll start with multiple choice just because it's the top of the list. It's going to put the question at that specific time. So when I paused my video, I clicked add a question. You can also, once again, click on that little plus sign right there in the video timeline above it. But I tend to just pause and then click create a question because I'm like listening and pausing as I go through my video. Occasionally I will listen to the whole video play and write a list of timestamps with the questions that I want to ask. But for the most part, I tend to just pause as I listen to it and create my questions that way. But it does give me that specific time. Of course, you can select at the beginning of the video or at the end. So a best practice for me, because I work with adult learners, like I'm the one teaching y'all how to use ScreenPal, right? So a best practice for me, if I were personally a community college instructor, would maybe be to do something like a poll at the beginning of my video to kind of do a check-in with my students. Like, you know, my mom teaches nurses aid courses at our community college right now, and they're practicing like how to wash their hands, right? And like, you don't realize the specific way that you actually need to wash your hands to get all of the germs off of them when you work in a medical setting. For example, my little toddler, because my mom has taught her, now washes her hands like this to get under her fingernails, right? I did not know that you should do that. Like I just do like, you know, sing my ABC situation. So I could say like, do you know how confident do you feel? Do you feel washing your hands? Right? And kind of like check in. Do you know how to wash them in the medical field? And then I love to put emojis as my answer choices. Like, I'm a superstar. Hand washing superstar. Right? Or I could be like, who washes their hands? Blech. Right? And then I could just kind of do a little poll at the beginning of my video to do a check-in, or it can be like, how confident do you feel with our last lesson? Do you feel like you're ready to learn this next segment on X, Y, and Z topic? Like if it's the same, you know, unit of study, you could do a check-in like that, and you could do the same question at the end of your video. So a lot of times with adult learners, I'll do like a poll at the beginning. And then now that you've watched this lesson, how confident do you feel asking the same question? So to kind of see if their self-efficacy has increased, right, as they've watched that video. So just kind of FYI, I like to do that as a best practice. That was the poll question though. So let's go back to multiple choice. Sorry for the aside. But if you wanted to do, let's see, which is not a recorder drawing tool, because that's what's in my image there. Okay. So which is not a recorder drawing tool. I will put pencil, marker, eraser, and then video message. Okay. And so video message is not part of our recorder drawing tools, literally those annotation tools that you've probably started using as you've recorded your lessons. And then here I've got a none of the above option. So it will just automatically add none of the above. You don't have to fill in this last answer choice. It's just going to automatically pop up a bubble for you, so that you know where to write your next answer choice, but you don't have to fill them all in, just an FYI. You can also allow multiple answer selections. I like to do this if I do like, I put in parentheses, select all that apply, right? And then I could put another wrong answer. So let's say, ooh, I don't know what's not a recorder drawing tool. Highlight. Right? So that's like one of our editing features, not something that you can do in the recording stage. So then I've got two incorrect answer choices, which are actually the answer, right? And then you can also randomize the order of questions and add feedback to the question. So one thing that I like to do, especially if I have learners like watching this from home and I'm not physically there to assist them with that feedback, would be, if they answer A, B, or C, right? If we look at the three that are right there, or incorrect, I should say, then if they answer these two, it'll say great job. If they answer pencil, marker, or eraser, I could say, make sure you review yesterday's video lesson focused on recorder drawing tools. Okay, so you can kind of give them that, here's where you go to find the right answer moment built into your quiz. So if they answer pencil, marker, or eraser, which are incorrect, it will show them review the video lesson as the feedback built in there. So you could say like, go to yesterday's PowerPoint, Google Slides, whatever you're using to create that. You could say, check out the worksheet that we finished at the end of class yesterday, anything like that to give them that quick feedback. So that feedback option is available for multiple choice and true false. So if you want to provide that immediate feedback, it does have to be one of those right or wrong question options. So now I'm going to click save. And you'll notice in my video here, as it plays, there's a little blue teardrop, little blue upside down teardrop. So that is a video event. So I could click there and edit my question. When you share this assignment with students, if you toggle so that that they can see the video events on the timeline, they will also see these little blue teardrops. So if you notice that like people in your class maybe are having trouble like paying attention as the question is coming soon in the video, you could toggle that on so that they get that visual sign that a question is coming soon in the video. So that's the multiple choice. Let me scroll forward a little bit so that we can at least have some different words on my screen here. So then add a question, similar for true or false, right? I did add a specific time. This one actually didn't do it for me, so pay attention. So I'm going to do 1:35. So where I am in my video is actually 1:35. I can see it right there. So I did have to correct that. That does happen to me. That's why I like to use the plus sign sometimes. And then our question can be, let me see, replace video, or let me do speed up or slow down your video is a type of overlay, which if you've edited, you know that that's separate from the overlay heading in the tools bar. So that is false. And then once again, I have the option here to add feedback to my question. So that would be where I could say like, check out our lesson specifically catered to speeding up and slowing down your video or something like that. So I can add the feedback there and then save. And then I can see here the time that question is in my video. And once again, when I start playing my video, I will have that little upside down blue tear mark there that denotes that I have a question at that point in my video. Now let's add one more question. So I kind of showed you what I do with the poll questions. I've showed you the multiple choice features and the true or false. And what I want to point out is specifically with the short answers. So I clicked on the plus sign and it gave me a more accurate time there. So if you are doing that, you might want to use the plus sign. And then let's say, describe how you will use shape overlays in your videos. Okay. Now, y'all, I taught high school. So when I say this, it is because I taught younger children and adults, young adults, I guess I should say, than you are. And I had so many students that did not understand what the word describe meant. Like I would say to describe something and they would be like, describe how your weekend was. It was okay. Okay, why was it okay? What happened? Which I know I'm gonna get from my 2-year-old when she's like 13, right? But you can select for this to require a specific answer length, which is one of my favorite things, because if they don't describe, right? Like if they don't write more than 25 characters, which still isn't really a very long description. But if they don't write more than 5 5-letter words, then it's going to basically say like your answer is not long enough and make them rewrite their answer. So you can change that to be, longer if you want, right? 50 and 500. I think you can even change this to like 600. Yeah, so you can even change the character count to be larger than that. And there's my short answer question. Now, if you ever change your mind on a question, like let's say I don't want to do select all that apply on this question, all I have to do is click on the 3 dots and I can edit my question. Now I can also duplicate my question. So if you were to do like that emoji poll situation that I showed you, you could duplicate it and just add it to the end of your video and just change some of the words rather than having to retype the entire question. Okay. So that's an option there. And then you can also move the questions like above or below each other. So let's say you have them watch a 5-minute video and then ask them 3 questions at the end of the video. You could change the order in which those 3 questions appear as needed as well. So that would be like your move to top, move up, move down. Like this is going to move it, down to be after number 1. And then I would have to go back and edit this. And I think it was actually at 0:31. Right.
Hey, Sarah, I got a quick question about the character length requirement.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's anything in the question, like it doesn't tell them automatically how long it has to be. So if
No.
they try to write in an answer and it's not long enough, what happens?
It would tell them that answer wasn't long enough.
Okay. So
Mhm.
it's probably to our benefit, like you did with select all that apply, to say like a minimum of 25 characters or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the question, you could say minimum length 50 characters.
Yeah. That makes sense. Thank you.
So they don't get frustrated. Yeah, no, that's great. So you can do that too. When I use short answers, I typically don't turn that on because it's like for our certifications, but I absolutely would if I were like taking a grade for something, I would want them to describe. So that's a really good kind of standard practice there. And then the last question type that I didn't look at is this rating question type. So I kind of like to do like a rating at the end of the video. So like or like, did it provide clarity, right? Something like that. I sometimes will do like, was this video lesson effective and easy to follow, right? So just to kind of get that quick feedback so that I know as an instructor if something needs to improve. And it kind of depends on your students, right? Like you may not feel like your students are going to give you, let's say, valid feedback, like they'll just complain for the sake of complaining. Kind of depends on that, right? But I like to use this rating at the end of the video. And once again, I just select at the end of the video. I will allow the viewer to skip this because I'm not necessarily going to be like, oh, you got one question wrong because you didn't fill out my rating, right? Like you can allow them to skip a rating. And then you could even allow optional comments and say like, please provide additional detail regarding your rating. Okay. And then save. And there's my rating question, 5 stars. And you can do hearts, smileys, or stars. So you can pick if you want to do a different, you know, symbol with each video and kind of switch it up a little bit. So let's say that obviously this is not a perfect quiz, but let's say this is my quiz and I'm done editing. So let me ask first, does anybody have any questions about the editing of the questions of the quiz or creating questions for your quiz? Okay, cool. And okay, Faith asks, is it possible to use this rating as an understanding throughout? Yes, you could. You would just add it at different points in your video. So if I wanted to add it, let's say halfway through my video, I would just kind of pick a halfway point, maybe listen to make sure that I have a natural pause in sentence at that point in my video. And then I would just do add a question. So that was 138. And I would just do another rating and there it is at that specific time. And I could actually duplicate the question would probably work better. But I could just type in my question again at that point in the video and add an additional rating halfway through. Yep. All right. So now regarding sharing your video. So you can share a link. So that would be here, this direct link. You can also pull the embed code. So if you have a website that you've created, you can put that embed code on your website. Okay. If you want to collect this quiz for a grade, we did finish. So ScreenPal did upgrade to LTI 1.3, which means that our integration is a lot easier with the learning management systems. We are hoping to have grade sync during Q1 of 2024. So like January, February 2024 is when we should have grade sync, meaning that your learning management system will ScreenPal will talk to it, and then it'll put a grade in your system. But until that happens, my best practice if you're taking it for a grade is to ask your audience to enter information prior to taking the quiz. That third option there, it's going to start as anonymous. But you can ask your audience to enter information. And I would do first and last name. If you want to collect their email address as well with that, you can. Typically with my roster, I would just want first and last name, but it's kind of up to you and how many students you have and what would be easiest based on your grading system. You can also do other, but if I just do first and last name, it will ask people to enter their first and last name before they take the quiz. I'm going to send it back to anonymous because I can actually copy this link and share it with you in the chat. And you can experience this quiz as a student really quick, right? I do have prevent skipping turned on. So unfortunately, you would have to actually watch. For you guys in here, fortunate for you when you send this out to your students, right? That there's a prevent skipping option there. And I said that you could make it so that the blue markers show up on the timeline. For that, it seems counterintuitive, but this says hide question markers on timeline, which means they won't show up. So you want to turn that off if you want them to show up, which seems like a double negative in my head, but turn that off if you want the blue teardrops to show up on the timeline for your students. Call to action and annotation buttons are a way that you can link outside resources in your video. So if you've ever watched a YouTube video and the person in it says like, click here to subscribe, right? And then they have a subscribe button, that's an annotation button. So you can actually create those within ScreenPal too. In my mind, as a former classroom teacher, I see that looking like, okay, now that you've completed this ScreenPal video lesson, click here to fill out, today's Google Doc, or click here to access the PowerPoint from this presentation or something like that. And then you have a link that your students can click on to go to the next activity to kind of streamline what you're doing in class. That's how I would use it were I still in the classroom, using ScreenPal and using the quiz features. So you can turn that on or off because you could have added annotation buttons to your video before you create your quiz. And then we've got hide score results, don't include short answers in scoring, and then schedule quiz. So you can schedule your quiz to be, viewable through ScreenPal as well, but you'll probably be sharing it through a learning management system and not necessarily through ScreenPal. Another one of my favorite things that I would use were I in person is this QR code here. So the really cool thing about the QR code feature is that when we're talking about, because I taught high school once again, so like maybe at the end of class, I just want my students to like get out their cell phone, right? And answer a couple of questions before they leave my classroom. So I can actually scan that code and you can see kind of that it actually opened up my quiz on my cell phone when I scanned that QR code. So I could really easily, so I have that set up to remain anonymous. So it's not asking me to put in a name, a first and last name, but I can just scan that QR code and take that. So that would be great if maybe you didn't get through the whole lesson or something and you're like, hey, just scan the QR code on your way out the door, watch the lesson again and take the quiz later, right? Or for me, I would use this kind of like as an exit ticket so that I could gather some really quick formative assessment data to see if we need to review anything during the next class period. Okay, so that QR code is available here. And then it also lives as an icon in the top right corner of all of these quiz editing pages. So even if you're on the edit quiz tab, which is where you go to edit your questions, you can click on that QR code icon and you can also copy the link to your quiz from there too. Okay, how are we feeling?
So Sarah, because this is anonymous,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about like if I mean, I could click into it. I've got it on my phone right now, but if I don't have a ScreenPal account, I'll still be able to get to it, right? Our students.
Yep.
Okay. So
Mhm.
the
Yep.
QR code will take them right to it. Okay.
Even if you had students enter information, they do not have to have a ScreenPal account to take a ScreenPal quiz. The people who have to have ScreenPal accounts are the people creating the videos, right? It's like a creation-based system. So the person creating the video, and that doesn't count for the video messenger, by the way. It's only for the videos like using the actual editor. So whoever logs into the editor needs a ScreenPal account. All right. So I'm going to actually leave this quiz to go into a quiz. Well, we might have some results. Oh, yeah, because I didn't really give you guys much time to do it. So let me go into a different quiz that I've created so that we can look a little bit more at the results summary and we'll actually see some images in the results summary by going into a different one. So just keep in mind, these 4 tabs are going to be the same. Okay, I'm just going to go into one that is from my certification course because more people have done it. Let me see. And so to go to these results, I just clicked on quizzes in the left-hand browser there. So all of your quizzes will be under that same heading. These are all the videos that I've created into quizzes. And now I'm on the results summary for a different video, but it will give you an idea of what those results will look like and what you can view from your quiz.
Hey, before we move on, Sarah, we have a
Yeah.
question in the chat about the rating for understanding. You want to pop in and look at that?
Oh yeah. So the rating, okay. So for the poll, you can, so it's actually in this quiz. I have a poll as well. So this poll, I don't think I set it up on this one, but you can select allow viewer. Oh, what just happened? That was weird. Oh. Did you see how my screen just grayed? That was bizarre.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was like, what just happened? And then I thought, well, I'm sure my Zoom just froze and that didn't freeze either. So that was weird. Okay. So here, if I go in to edit the quiz question, you probably saw very briefly before my screen blacked out there, the option to hide the results. So here with the poll, if I didn't want students to see that, or maybe like I wanted them to see how everyone else is feeling, then here I can allow viewer to skip and then hide results here. So if you don't want for them to see the results for that, you would just select hide results, or you can uncheck that. I think it starts as unchecked. So you would just check hide results. I think for so here's another one that I have with the rating question. So I normally just allow the viewer to skip this question. And then I don't think there is an option to hide or unhide for rating. So if you want to hide it, then you would probably want to use a poll. All right, so now in the results summary, you're welcome. In the results summary, this is each of those questions. So I can see I've had 72 people complete this micro credential so far. I can see a heat map here of the average time that people spent on my quiz. I can also choose the emoji so I can see like, majority of people doing this were excited and ready to learn. Some people were already using ScreenPal and felt confident. And then I've also got an actual response percentage listed here. Okay, so I can look at that. And then how can you capture your video using the screen recorder? So this is one of my multiple choice questions. I can see the percentage who answered correct or incorrect there. Which annotation are you the most excited to use? Like, I literally was just trying to keep people engaged, y'all, while they watch this video. This was not like any revolutionary type of question here. But I've got just a poll there, and I can see my percentages, clicking the pause button. So I could see like, okay, we don't need to review this tomorrow, but maybe if majority of this was in the blue, then maybe we need to talk about where the pause button is and what it actually does when we come back together tomorrow. And then here, and it gives you, of course, the green check of what was the correct answer. So you can really quickly look at that chart. Now, if you need to export these answers, you can click on export and export this result summary. So this will do this beautiful one with your, pie charts and your little bar graphs and everything. So you can export that as a PDF, an Excel file, or a CSV. And then the individual results. You can see each individual quiz answer detail if you needed to dive a little bit deeper on that individual's results. Oh, I just did that weird blackout thing again. And then, of course, you can export those as well. I did recently request that they add an export all individual results option. So what exports right now is the scores, right? It doesn't export a file with every one of these 72 people's individual responses. I probably wouldn't necessarily want that for this quiz, right? But I was thinking more along the lines of a teacher might want to export all of the responses of their students. So I did recently request that that be added of our development team. So that should be something that you'll be able to do down the line. But right now, what it will export is a CSV file with the names. This one, of course, was anonymous, but it'll have the names of each of those people as well as the score of each of those people. And I'm actually going to really quickly take a screenshot of this because it might be a grader bug and I want to report it. So give me just a second. I'm sorry. Let me take this. Okay. Sorry. All right. Continuing on, I'll go back out and go back in. I just want to make sure now that it's happened to me twice that it's not going to happen to other people. So I'll throw in a quick report for that. If anything like that does ever happen to you, by the way, if you go into the app and you click, I believe it's on the question mark, you can really quickly fill this out. And it'll send an error log to our support team and they can look into that error in case it's one that's happening across the board. Because, any tech tool, there's going to be mistakes occasionally, and they can make sure that it's not just you being affected by that error. So that was kind of the result summary that's located there, that tab. And then once again, the CSV will just do the entire grade versus each individual result. So of course you can click here and you can still see, right, each of those individual grades on the right side here by clicking on the magnifying glass. And then I can delete those individual summaries. So I could click all of the check boxes and opt to delete all of those if I wanted to maybe just reuse the same video lesson next semester, anything like that, then I could easily do that too. And then under the more here, so speaking of semester to semester, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, what I would probably recommend doing is maybe putting something in the name like, I don't know, fall 2023. or something, right? And that way you could know I used this for my fall semester students. Obviously, if you have, multiple class periods of the same course, then you could do that too. But you could put that in the title there. And then when I duplicate that quiz, I could duplicate it and change the title to spring 23 or 24, excuse me. And that way I can just duplicate the quiz and not have to necessarily delete all of those student results. I'm not sure if y'all need to keep track of them for much longer than a semester at the college level. I know for me, I would at least want them for a year because my students would get grades for a year, right? Like they would get, we were 4x4 block, but they would get their grade in the fall and they'd still see that grade in the spring. So people might still question that grade, in the spring. So it kind of depends on how long you need to keep track of that grade. Now, quizzes you cannot add to a channel, right? So you couldn't necessarily make a channel of quizzes, but you can make a channel out of your video lessons. So if you've already created video lessons, you can include multiple of those in a channel. A channel is basically, if you ever have seen a YouTube channel, that's what it is, right? Like you're creating a channel with multiple resources in one place. So I could make a channel, of let's say micro credential or level 1 certified. And what I could actually do is put all of my resources, all of my videos in one place. So let's see, I think I have a logo. There we go on my desktop. I can put a logo on there. So you could do like the Blue Ridge Community College logo, things like that. Whatever you want to utilize there. I've got this one as unlisted. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because the video messenger is a really cool feature that you can use in channels. So here I've got a carousel layout, which is like where you scroll horizontally across your screen. And then you've got the sidebar, which is what people are the most acclimated to. That's what YouTube has as a sidebar layout, right? Like the recommended videos are underneath and on the right. So you've got sidebar, and then you can allow users to launch a recorder in the channel, which would mean that they could actually record a video on your channel. So they could record a video comment potentially on your channel. So I'll click save there. Okay, and there's my channel listed there. And all you have to do from here is actually just drag and drop your videos from the videos tab into your channel. So let's do one. So I'm going to click on these dots here, and now my hand popped up, and I'm just going to drag it over to the channel. And then you can also click on the squares in the corner and drag multiples at one time. So on top of the thumbnail, that little square will pop up. There we go. And there's my third. And then my other one is 1.3. Oh, not helpful. And then you can also add your videos into folders. That's more of a internal organization for you. So if you maybe wanted to organize it that way, I'm just viewing this a different way so that I can easily pull. Here we go. So I just changed my view there to be less of the thumbnail and more of the titles. And then you can just drag those over. And then what you could do, like maybe you want to say like Unit 1 review, and you throw all of your video lessons into a Unit 1 review page. Then you can put them all in a channel, and then you can share that link with your students. So I'll share this link with you in the chat just so you can see what that channel looks like on your end. Okay. And then you can share that channel, you can click on the share link. Obviously, you can do the direct link to the channel. You can also make a custom link if you want. And then you could share it via email, Facebook, Twitter, Google Classroom, and Teams. So if you're using any of those as well, you can quickly share that. And then you've also got your embed code there. So you could actually embed your channel layout with a sidebar on another website. Okay. Any questions about quizzes? I know I very briefly went into channel. I'm going to show you a little bit more with the video messenger extension. But I want to make sure we don't have any other questions about quizzes before I move on to that.
I have one question about the embed code part. So
Uh-huh.
if I embed the video with the quiz in the LMS, you're saying they'll stay within the LMS to watch the video and take the quiz. It'll look like they're still within the LMS.
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
But remind me what LMS you're using?
Moodle core.
Moodle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there might also be, I'm the most familiar with Canvas, to be completely transparent, because that's what we use, and Google Classroom a little bit. But typically you can either do with the LTI 1.3 integration, you can also do it as like an external tool
Yep.
integration. So if you do the external tool, it'll basically show up within the Moodle window.
Okay. We're not integrating yet. I know that that's something we're looking to do, but right now we're still just using it as the external host.
Yeah, but you can
Yeah.
do it as you can pull the embed code and it should show up there too.
Okay, great. And we
Mhm.
will be integrating in the coming months, I know.
Yeah. Well,
Great.
that'll be good because it might be right at the same time that we have the
That's,
grade sync, which will work in your favor because then you just do it all at once.
yeah,
And
that's what we thought we might do. All right, thank you, Sarah.
Mhm. Anything else? Okay. All right. So for the video messenger, this is one of my favorite little fun features about ScreenPal. So I'm literally just going to search. Of course, I already have it on my, computer, but it's a Chrome extension. So anywhere that I'm typing, I can actually record a video, which is fun. I'm going to put the link here in the chat for you guys to this little web store listing there. But basically, as you can see here, you can record video messages where you type. So one of my favorite things with this is if I were maybe like grading, a student's paper or something. And you can do this in email too, right? So like you can even be in an email, like here, I'll do one. Oops. I'll just send it to Sarah because, she's right here. And I could just put like ScreenPal, right? And here I actually have this little guy pop up right here. You see my little ScreenPal logo in the bottom corner of my email there. So I actually can click on that and I can choose whether to record my screen camera or both. Probably looks familiar because, it's what you record when you create your video lesson. One of my favorite things though is this fun new little like effects thing. So you can choose hotkeys for those. So option +2, option +3, or option +1. So all I would have to do is press option 2 when I record. So, and then you can also have it create a little animated GIF thumbnail. So that'll show up as a GIF in my email right there. So here, I'll start my recording. I had so much fun doing a training with you guys. I can't wait to continue working with Blue Ridge Community College in the coming months as you use ScreenPal. There's my little love thing, right? My little ScreenPal love. You saw it very briefly. And then I can really quickly trim and crop this. So it's not going to have the editing features because this is literally like a great way to provide feedback, right? It's not going to have the editing features as in depth, but then when I press on the check, I've actually got my video embedded right there in my email that I can then send. So anywhere that you type, you can use this video messenger. So I could use this in a comment on a Google Doc. So let's see, I'll do like an email. Right. So if I'm like editing this back to school blog post and I need to provide feedback, I love this as in, I'm a sensitive soul. So when I say this, it's because I am that person who would be like sensitive to feedback. So I speak from myself, but I just do insert comment. And then here I can actually just click on that little ScreenPal logo again. And I could record a video comment in the sidebar. So like, I really love that you focused on our K-12 educators in this post, but I really want us to consider our collegiate educators as well. So like a video with constructive criticism might have a little more weight, but also feel a little more personal, and maybe not as hurtful as it could feel were you not to do it in video form, right? So there's my ScreenPal link right there. And the nice thing about this is when you make these video comments, they actually will all show up in your ScreenPal account. So if maybe you wanted to use the same video comment multiple times, you could actually do that. So here I've got my ScreenPal account, and then you can see right here, let me go to this view. It's a little bit better because you can actually see the image there. But I've got like, this was the title of my document. So blog post, back to school with ScreenPal. And then this was that email that I started to Sarah that was titled ScreenPal. Okay, so it does whatever the document title was there. Will it allow for Desmos or other screens? Can you type in, I have not used Desmos in literally like 3 or 4 years. Can you type on Desmos?
You can type in like equations. I guess my feedback was like if you were trying to talk a student through a problem, um, will it just like screen grab that and allow you to leave for comments?
So it would insert the video comment wherever there's a text box, it will insert a video comment. So I'm thinking it would put it, so for example, if you wanted to screen share how to solve the equation in your comment, it will add it as a comment on their completed activity.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is the video messaging extension, which is a great thing for you to use to provide feedback. So basically anywhere you can type, you'll see that little blue ScreenPal. I call it the Pokeball logo, which probably makes our marketing team really angry, but it looks like a little Pokeball, and you'll just like click on the little Pokeball and then you can record your video. All right. Any other questions about that?
I'm trying to use it right now in Google Chat and it's not showing up, but that doesn't, yeah, and I did download it. Like I thought I already had it downloaded, but I think, yeah. Have you used it in Google Chat?
I have not tried to use it in Google Chat myself.
Okay.
So I
Well,
mainly use,
I'll let you know. I'll keep
it
playing.
might be like a maybe restart your browser or
Yeah.
restart the application. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. Thanks.
Or it could be if Google has their own little video thing there. But it is a Chrome extension, so you would think they would allow it. All right. Are we feeling okay? Was it nice to kind of break it up, like to have like getting used to the video lesson recording and then having the quiz separate? Normally I do it all together, and I feel like that's probably really overwhelming. So I think it was.
Yeah, there's a lot to the quizzing feature. I'm glad we broke it apart from just the video recording.
Yeah.
Now the comment feature that we had talked about when, like, if I make a video and then I share it with my students, that's a different thing, right?
That is the channel
Okay.
I was talking about. So you could do it as a channel. And then students can actually, so the Chrome extension is free to anyone. So they can actually use that Chrome extension too.
Okay.
So they could add the Chrome extension to their device and use the Chrome extension. You don't have to be a ScreenPal user. Let me rephrase that. They would not be part of your like team plan to make a video comment using the Chrome extension.
But they'd have to download the Chrome extension to do a
They would
video
have to have the
comment.
download Chrome extension, yes.
Okay. Okay.
They would have to add that to their Chrome.
I'm wondering from those of you on the call if you are thinking about ways to implement quizzing or the messaging and how you could see yourself trying this out. I'm going to pick on Stephanie because I know she's making tons of videos. Are you gonna quiz them with this? What do you think?
Yeah, in fact, it's funny that you went over this today because I was talking about some of the courses that I'm taking for my own personal education. And on some of the online videos, they give us questions throughout the video, I guess, to make sure that we're paying attention. And I just made a comment about this to Lindy last week. I was like, I wonder if there is an editing tool that we could add questions throughout the lecture to make sure that they're paying attention. And then today there's this, and I'm like, yes, I love it. So yes, I can definitely see myself using this, especially in the online courses where they have to watch the lecture. So that way I know that they're actually watching the full thing and not fast forwarding through certain sections.
And you guys have the team, account. So like all of this, like you can make as many quizzes as you want. You can also use like the stock media that we have. So like all of that is available in your team plan. So like literally like you have the max that you can do with ScreenPal is at your disposal. So.
And Stephanie, just a note, if it's content you're creating originally, this is a great option. If it's content that's been created by somebody else and you're pulling it into your course, we can use the H5P tool for that. So I think that and you can do questions and they can feed the gradebook. So we've got lots of solutions for this opportunity to assess student learning. But I love that it's built right into ScreenPal. This is terrific.
Yeah, I like that.
Elijah, what are you thinking? You're the one making all this new content right now.
Yeah, I like it. I also like that it actually has that polling feature because you and I had talked about those poll questions that H5P really can't do, but I can in ScreenPal.
Yeah. So there you go. We just solved your problem. Nice. And you've got videos that already exist that you've already created, where you've narrated them already, and you could still go back in and create polls at the beginning before the video starts if you wanted to, or you could just start, because I know you've made content up for a couple weeks already, but like moving forward, you could start adding those in. So it's not too late to use those for the second 8 weeks course if you wanted.
Yeah.
Awesome. Josh and Faith, either of you have any thoughts on how you might use some of the tools from today?
Yeah, I really like the poll feature specifically for the online class.
Yeah.
Just so I can check their understanding.
Would you do it anonymously or would you have them put their names in?
Anonymously.
Okay. Yeah. Faith, what about you? I know that you use other video recording tools as well. Is there anything
No.
in here?
I think this was great. Definitely the poll feature is awesome. I'd probably still use it anonymously, just like I do in a face-to-face class. I don't really try to pay attention to who's giving me a 5 and who's giving me a 1. Just lets me know how I can better teach. So
awesome. So for now, if you did want to do an actual quiz where there were grades, you'd have to look at the individual results and pull those in that way. But in the coming semester, so like starting in the spring, I would imagine if our integration works the way that I think it will, those grades would feed the grade book. So that's something that you could even be thinking about down the road if you ever did want to use it for graded items.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Sarah, anything else you want to share with us in the last couple minutes before we pop off?
I don't think so. I love hearing how you guys are going to use it. I can't wait to see, how much you accomplish with it. I think the analytics will be really helpful too, to kind of see, like, Stephanie, you were saying when kids stop watching, like you've got that heat map summary to see when your students drop off the map, if you will. So you can kind of get a quick view of that too. So I think it'll be really helpful. I mean, I work for them, so of course I think it'll be helpful, but I really think it'll be helpful. I would have loved to have that when I was a classroom teacher. The most I had was Zaption, like back in the day, so.
Well, Sarah, we really appreciate you helping us navigate some of these new options that we've got with ScreenPal. And I know we're going to plan to do one more training in November where we're going to look at image editing and like really upping our image game. A lot of us are already using like Snip and Sketch, or we're trying to figure out ways to grab screenshots and then edit them in Paint or whatever it is that we're doing. ScreenPal has some really great editing features. So for still images that you can use in all your instructional materials. So that'll be really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
Thanks so much, Sarah. In the meantime, folks, if you've got questions, you're welcome to email Sarah directly. Sarah, if you want to throw your email in the chat. I don't know if you've heard from any of our folks. It's been pretty quiet on my side.
I haven't, but that's probably silence might be a good thing in that case, as long as
Yeah.
we're trying. So
Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us.
bye, y'all.